Okay, what you are seeing here is photons of light that I have learned how to photograph. And I learned just this week because I've been listening to a lot of this about the Higgs boson. Since they have discovered that, I thought maybe I ought to find out what it is they're talking about. And I was quite, amused at what they are about. And I think they would do well to see this, because what is not what a photon has no mass. Light has no mass as a photon, but it certainly looks like something. Now, we live in a world that is material, physical. And what they're trying to find, well, I'll just tell you about it as I read it. I typed out a big story about this. I will begin. All of this about the Higgs boson. I watched a video about the search for the Higgs boson particle. I had not given this much attention before, believing it to be beyond my understanding. Yet I watched it and was very much aware that although it is beyond my understanding in terms of the language they use, what they are trying to do is something I recognize very well. They are looking for the missing piece of the creation of the universe, nothing more, nothing less. They talk about the Big Bang Theory, how that there was a fuse that set into motion the creation of the universe. And they explained that the universe was once a singularity. Well, I looked that word up, singularity, and here's part of the definition. I won't give the whole thing, it's pretty long. The technological singularity, often called the singularity, is a theoretical point in time when human technology, and particularly technological intelligence, will have so rapidly progressed that ultimately a greater than human intelligence will emerge, which will radically change human civilization and perhaps even human nature itself. Since the capabilities of such an intelligence may be difficult for an unaided human mind to comprehend, the technological singularity is often seen as an occurrence akin to a gravitational singularity, beyond which, from the perspective of the present, the future course of human history is unpredictable or even unfathomable. So there you have it. Quite an extraordinary thing that they're looking to discover. I think they're on the right path insofar as they want to know, actually they want to know Creator. But Creator is spirit, and they're not willing to call it that. But anyway, I kept on watching it. And this is what they said. We are all children of the Higgs boson. Imagine that. Some people would say we're all children of God. But this is the point that escapes them. And but if they keep on looking, eventually they will prove God. And they won't be looking into physical, they'll be looking into spiritual. They claim that the Higgs boson is only a part of a family of Higgs bosons, with the one recently discovered being one of the lightest of them all. It is a Higgs boson which is at the beginning of time had no mass, as all particles at that time also had no mass. Now this is their reasoning. They went on to talk about what the scientists at CERN are actually trying to do in this $10 billion Hadron Collider. They are trying to create a mini Big Bang, which they believe started our universe some 13.7 billion years ago. They say that most of the universe is made up of dark matter. Now, here's the definition of dark matter. One explanation for dark energy is that it is a property of space. Albert Einstein was the first person to realize that empty space is not nothing. Space has amazing properties, many of which are just beginning to be understood. The first property that Einstein discovered is that it is possible for more space to come into existence. The one version of Einstein's gravity theory, the version that contains a cosmological constant, makes a second prediction. Empty space can possess its own energy. Because this energy is a property of space itself, it would not be diluted as space expands. As more space comes into existence, more of this energy of space would appear. As a result, this form of energy would cause the universe to expand faster and faster. Unfortunately, no one understands why the cosmological constant should ever be there, much less why it would have exactly the right value to cause the observed acceleration of the universe. So that is what I found about dark matter. Then they went on to explain that at the heart of everything is a simple and enchanting ideal called symmetry. Now, the meaning of symmetry: an exact matching of form and arrangement of parts on opposite sides of a boundary, such as a plane or a line, or around a central point or axis. Now, our faces are symmetrical. You know, a lot of things, most everything's symmetrical. I read that. Symmetry creates beauty, harmony, and perfect balance. But there's a problem with something so perfect, which we will go into later in this report. They go on to say that before there was DNA, there was the Earth. Before the Earth, there were the stars, and before the stars, there was the atom. Now, this gigantic hadron collider takes protons from the nucleus of the atom and collides them at almost the speed of light. All of this to find an elusive particle of the atom that would explain and prove that there is the existence of a field that surrounds us all of the time, which was created in those first few seconds after the Big Bang. Much of their work at CERN is spent in looking to find where the Higgs boson is not. They need data to pile up so that after all that data is looked through, they will eventually find the Higgs boson. This they claim they have found just recently. And there is great excitement among the scientists at this time. In this particular video I watched, they were interviewing a Nobel Prize winner, Frank Wilczek, who won the prize for having the standard model of elementary particles. Frank claims that his understanding is of how all the pieces of the universe fit together, except for gravity, which is a mind-boggling project. His expertise is to explain the rules of the game. His model seems to be a principle that describes how molecules behave, all of chemistry, how stars work, all of astrophysics, and not only how things behave, but what can exist. Quite a claim. As best I could understand, what Wilczek, this Nobel Prize winner, was saying is that there are three categories of stuff. There's matter, and this is the words they use. Matter is lumps of stuff that have a certain degree of permanence. And then there's quarks, which are the building blocks of protons and neutrons and atomic nuclei. And leptons, which is the electron. On the other side of these things are, and this is the third thing, force particles are force mediators. Force particles, they are like lumps of energy, and they transmit the forces that bring matter particles to life. Like the proton, which carries the electromagnetic force. Also the gluons that carry the strong force that holds the nuclei of the atoms together. Experimentally, every one of the particles has been found except for that pesky missing piece, the Higgs boson. Now, this video was before they had found it. So now they've found that pesky missing piece, and now we have to see what they will do with it. but I will read about it. What they said about it is hard to detect because as soon as it is detected, it decays into other particles, leaving just a trace of its existence. So all these years, these scientists have been looking for this pesky particle by looking for a statistical anomaly, some blip in the measurements that they can't otherwise account for. This guy, Maisho Kapu, speaks of the real problem that perplexes them the most. He explains that science has given us a set of laws that describes the world so accurately that we can predict the motion of a coin tossed in the air because we understand the laws of gravity. He says we understand electromagnetism so well that we can use our GPS satellites to locate your car to within a few inches, and that we understand the nuclear force so well that we can predict the future evolution of the sun itself. He continues saying that the mathematics that gives rise to many of these successes has one consistent theme, one we see around us every day. It characterizes our faces, the natural world, and even tiny structures like viruses and even our DNA. And this law is symmetry. Symmetry is the standard model, and symmetry rules. The laws are dictated in their form by requiring tremendous amounts of symmetry. And yet, for all the power of symmetry, there is one deep paradox at work. Maisho continues to explain. If the laws of science are framed in their most perfect, most symmetrical form, then life cannot exist at all. There would be no mountains, valleys, rivers, no DNA, no people, nothing. A universe created along absolutely symmetric principles would be in perfect balance and would cancel itself out. There would be no mass, Higgs, or matter at all. Yet, as he says, here we are. Our world is teeming with life and complexity, and that seems to be incompatible with perfection in our equations. By rights, we should not be here. So, this paradox about symmetry lies at the heart of modern physics, and it is crucial to understanding the significance of the Higgs itself. What unites the scientists at CERN is this trying to resolve this problem with symmetry. Alongside the scientists at CERN looking for the Higgs boson, which thing they now claim to have found, are over 700 other scientists who are searching for answers to the puzzle about symmetry. Peter Clark and Connor Fitzpatrick are working on the understanding of antimatter. Antimatter sounds like the stuff of science fiction. It was proposed some 80 years ago that there is this weird unsymmetrical world of antimatter, a substance that is as real as matter, but its opposite and rather more elusive. Maybe this is what we're seeing here in the light. It's not symmetrical, and it's occupying space, but it has no physicalness to it. The very idea of antimatter emerged from a revolutionary piece of mathematics with symmetry at its heart. It said that for every particle of matter there should be a corresponding one of antimatter. So we are really trying to decide, with all of these scientists searching for the tiniest particle, elusive and complicated though they may be, just what is mass? In my way of thinking, these scientists have left out the most important consideration of all. While many people have said that they are hunting for the God particle, in this effort at CERN has been called that, most of the scientists at CERN do not call it that. But it seems to me they have missed out on taking any courses at all in metaphysics. Metaphysics means beyond the physical. They are looking for life in germ of matter. While many people have said that they are hunting, wait a minute, I'm reading this, so I wrote this all out. They are looking to solve a problem at the level of the problem. They may never read something like the Kabbalion, which explains clearly that the universe is mental. Now, I read on my channel a book by Walter Russell. He knew all about what these scientists were and still are looking for. He believed that someday science and religion would marry. But I would put that differently than Walter Russell. I would say science and spirituality would marry. In the first few paragraphs of his book called The Secret of Light, which, by the way, I'm putting that over in the playlist for the reading of that over in the description bar. And if you would like that book, I have it in a file, and if you send me your email address, I'd be glad to send it to you, along with others of his books, like the Divine Illiad I, the Divine Illiad II, and if you're real scientific, you might want the Universal one. I read that, but I didn't understand much of what I read. It gets way too scientific for me. But maybe someday I'll understand it. But now I want to read you some of the words at the very beginning of Walter Russell's book, The Secret of Light. For within the secret of light is vast knowledge, yet unrevealed to man. Light is all there is. It is all we have to deal with. But we do not yet know what it is. The purpose of this message is to tell what it is. Today's civilization has advanced far in knowing how to deal with matter, but we do not know what matter is, nor the why of it, nor do we know what energy, electricity, magnetism, gravitation, and radiation are. Nor do we know the purpose of the inert gases and what they are. Nor do we know the structure of the elemental atoms, nor the gyroscopic principle which determines that structure. Nor are we even aware of the fact that this is a two-way continuous universe of balance in all effects of motion, and not a one-way discontinuous universe. Nor have we even yet heard of or suspected the most important of all principles in physics, the avoidance principle, and the mirrors and lenses of space which are the cause of illusion in all moving things. Nor do we even consider the entire material electric universe to be the illusion which it is, there being no reality to it whatsoever. Nor have we the slightest inkling of the cause of curvature of space, nor the avoidance of that curvature in planes of zero curvature at wave-filled boundaries. No one now knows how it is that crystals get their various shapes. It will amaze the world to know that those shapes of crystals are determined in space by the shapes of the wave fields which bound the various elemental structures. Nor have we the slightest conception of what constitutes the life principle, nor the principle of growth, nor the simultaneous unfoldment-refoldment principle, which repeats all patterns in nature sequentially and records and voids them as they are repeated. Nor are we aware of that recording principle by means of which the Creator carries forth the sum totals of every sequential cycle in his unfolding and refolding universe until the very end of its manifestations upon one planet and its beginnings on a new one. Nor are we dynamically aware of the souls and seeds of things. These roots of universal repetition are now but metaphysical abstractions to religion and physical guesswork to science. Within the secret of light is the answer to all of those heretofore unanswered questions, and many more, which the ages have not yet solved. The revelation of the nature of light will be the inheritance of man in this coming new age of greater comprehension. Its unfoldment will prove the existence of God by methods and standards acceptable to science and religion alike. It will lay a spiritual foundation under the present material one of science. the two greatest elements in civilization, religion and science, will thus find unity in marriage of the two. Likewise, human relationships will become more balanced because of greater knowledge of universal law, which lies behind all of the processes which light uses to interweave the pattern forms of this electric wave universe. Now, I have discovered something about light in doing my own research, but I've not had any formal training. I carry no degrees, and there's nobody listening too much to what I have. All I have is these pictures of light, and I think that I've found the way, quite accidentally I found the way of taking pictures of it. But I have been seeing similar things to what you see here in the light with the naked eye. And I kept praying, I wish I could take pictures of this so I could show others. So, what I have to say to scientists, those at CERN and anyone else, that they should start trying to understand the spiritual part when they try to understand matter. Because our world is illusion, and many other things they need to look into as well, like morphic fields. I recently listened to Rupert Sheldrake talking about morphic fields. Anyway, he's a very good one. Rupert Sheldrake, Sheldrake. Google him. You'll see he has a lot of videos. But he was not too long ago. He was doing a TED talk, and they canceled out his talk after they had done it. Him and Graham Hancock and another woman, I forget her name, but she talks about crop circles. But these people who have a scientific bent, they want to hear them, but they don't want them to say anything about spirituality. And see, this is what they're afraid to look at. But their being afraid to look at it is not going to help them discover much more. Maybe we'll learn more about how to make technological marvels, but we need to learn about this spiritual world of light. I want to read you something else about this problem they had with, if everything was in perfect symmetry, it would not be here. It would cancel itself out. Well, this is what Walter Russell talks about in The Secret of Light, and he calls it the negative principle. The foundation of the physical universe is motion, the ever-changing motion arising out of pairs of unbalanced conditions, which must forever move to seek the balanced stillness of unity from which they sprang, as multiple pairs of units. Unbalanced motion is the negative principle of instability, multiplicity, and separateness, which in this physical universe of electric octave waves, of opposed lights. In the negative principle, there is no positive. It is composed entirely of pairs of negations, which are forever voiding each other, canceling each other's action and reaction, thus negating each other by never allowing either one to exceed its fixed zero of universal stillness. Now that, to me, gives an understanding of this symmetry. They think if it were perfect, we just wouldn't be here. And in thinking that, they are right. But nature never lets itself get caught in the zero of universal stillness. Now you see here in the picture I'm showing the marbles and how I go in with my focus on my camera. And there in that light, you see all kinds of activity. And you see some little bubble things. It's very alive. It pulses. It's like a life form. And I know it must be. I want to read you just a little bit here that Walter Russell also says about quality begetting quantities. The still magnetic light universe of God's knowing is an invisible, unchanging, unconditioned, and unmeasurable quality from which visible, changing, conditioned, and measurable qualities spring to simulate those qualities through two-way wave motion. There's no one word in any language to express that quality, so we must use many words, all having the same meaning but different connotations. These words are mind, consciousness, love, life, truth, desire, knowledge, power, balance, and law. The God quality of the one light is seemingly transformed into quantities by being divided into pairs of oppositely conditioned light pressures of this electric universe. These divided pairs are then multiplied into countless octave wave units of light pressures and set in opposite directioned motion to create the illusion of sequence, change, dimension, condition, and time in a universe where none of these effects of motion exist. The calm sea, for example, is an unchanging, unmeasurable quality of oneness, of sameness and stillness. Upon its calm surface there is no change, nothing to count or measure. The moment that quantities of water spring from that quality of calm, those quantities can be measured. Likewise, they are forever changing, nor are there 2 points in them which are similarly conditioned. This creating electric universe is composed of moving light waves which sprang from a calm sea of the one still light. It is a universe of moving pairs of quantities which simulate the quality of stillness from which those quantities spring. The quantities of divided and conditioned pairs of opposite lights, which thus simulate the one, are not the one they simulate. The Creator is one mind, indivisible. Creation is one whole ideal of mind, divided into countless simulated ideals of mind through motion. The simulation of ideal thus expressed is not the ideal that it expresses. Parts of the one whole ideal are only seeming. There are no two separate or separable things in the universe. There is but one whole simulation of the one whole ideal. Everything that is of everything else that is. All things are indissolubly united. There's so much more to learn about our world, our universe. If you desire to learn, I can send you the Divine Illiad I and II, and the Secret of Light, and the Universal one. I can send those to your email if you let me know your email. And I will finish out this video I made of the light. And sometimes I don't have a steady hand holding the camera for so long, but the unsteadiness you see in this is not just my hand. It is that inside these orbs there is pulsing and flickering and the little round things that you've seen. I'm sure you've seen them. They just come and go. It's another world, but it's not physical. And I wish others out there would study this with me, because I'm sure there are some experiments. And someone with a scientific mind, well, they know how to conduct experiments. That's one for sure. They know how to do that. And they could probably think of ways to look at this that I haven't thought of. And we can find out even more about this light. I think it is really something important that we need to know, because as Walter Russell says in his book, we need to live less and less in the material electric universe of sensing, and more in the thought universe of knowing, that stillness, that light that is God, or as the scientists say, the Higgs Boson. Okay, that was over. I think I will give you, since I have a little time left, I will go to my Picasso page and show you a few of the orbs of light and how they move, because light looks just exactly like an orb, but there's all kinds of orbs. I'm sure that the orbs you get in pictures that just suddenly are there but you didn't see them when you took the picture, they're similar to these because they all have those little concentric lines around them. But when you look at light the way I'm doing, you realize it doesn't stay as a round circular thing, but it stretches itself like you see this one doing and flows. It's real fluid. It looks like a scroll of light. It's kind of like, is your name written in the book of light? I think everything's written in this book of light. There's so many strange things. Now this part right here, this is where light makes the one part of it enters into the tail end of itself, like the snake that bites his own tail. And see how it's flowing, and this looks like a little waterfall. And one orb just turns into another orb, and the colors that run through them are amazing. Sometimes they look very dimensional, like you could see dimension with those colors. But really, there's no mass to it. The colors just make it look like dimension. But this is a world that we know very little about. And I do think that it's time we learned about it. And that we communicated with it. Now, I have a little friend I call Harry that I see often with my other camera, my older camera. I only get him in that camera for some reason. But, well, I don't communicate in that we can talk, but when I say, Harry, show yourself, sometimes he does, right after I say that, but then sometimes he doesn't. And I really have to search to find the little feller. But he always looks the same, and I think he's a creature of the light. And these things that are in these orbs, they don't look like anything we recognize in our physical world. And they don't have symmetry. They're beautiful, though, even without symmetry. Some of the orbs that I've taken pictures of, well, I get a lot of them where they are entangled with one another. That's the only way I can say it. They're entangled. Start my motion going here. And they are so beautiful that way. I think that the light is bringing in more information in the light that we are receiving from the sun. And that it is progressing us, whether we know it is or not. But it sure helps. And if you own to study it a little bit and to desire, because desire is so important. Without desire, you can't be worked with. Without emotionally getting involved and saying, I want to learn more, and I'm determined to learn more. And not to see anything as impossible. Because someday I think, well, maybe I will learn to communicate with this light more than show up, Harry, that little message. I want to go beyond that. I want to know about this life that we see in these pictures. It's amazing to me, and it's beautiful. I don't know what else to say about it except that, well, one day I got this ring thing that came in the light only on that one day. I have another video that shows that ring thing. And now it looks like a ring of a bunch of little round rocks or something, little round pebble-looking things all arranged in a ring. And it only came in on that one day. Actually, I could show you that. To escape, back to library, and I'll show this ring. Okay, now you see here, these are the teardrop shaped orbs that come out of the light, and they're kind of not so much round, but they're a little teardrop shaped or oblong looking, and they're full of color. And always when I've looked at them, they're just full of color. But see this thing? One day, this thing showed up in the teardrop shaped ones, and I saw it in many of them. And so I just took picture after picture of all I could of these little round things that were coming in with the light. This is your normal one that I normally get, which makes me think that maybe there is something to the string theory. We're a color-coded light world. But that little ring has showed up. Even with the naked eye, I see the little ring sometimes when I'm looking at the sun. I look at the sun with my eye only opened a tiny crack to let a little bit of light in. There's the ring again. And then bubbles up in front of my eye a big satellite-like dish, but it's an orb, a huge one, with all kinds of things floating around in it. But today I saw the little ring in it as well. So that is an important thing. I don't know what it is. There it looks like it's embedded in that orb there. But if you will look closely, there's a lot of rings with concentric circles around them. Everything makes that form. That's just a form that is very prevalent in all of these orbs, is the ring. See, there it is again right there. So I keep looking because I don't know what'll come in next. There's another one, and that one, and another one. And when I was seeing Harry in Harry's world, the ring was in his world too, his neck of the woods. There's Harry. That's my little friend that comes sometimes when I say, Harry, where are you? And he drops down in one of the orbs, and there he is. If this makes me sound crazy, then so be it. But I'm exploring, and I'm looking at actual physical proof to me that there is something there. And I'm not going to worry that people might think I'm a bit crazy. I can't worry about that. They have problems enough with their own thoughts. I don't have to worry about their thoughts. There's Harry again. And there's another little creature that lives in Harry's world. It's all kinds of things that fascinate and confuse me, and I don't know the answer to it. I don't know what these things are. Well, I guess I got to the end of that. Okay, well, I could show you so many beautiful orbs. Let me show you these. This is the movement. So sometimes I don't just focus up on the light, but I focus on those orbs that are moving. And with my focus, I can make the movement go in and out of different things. Well, like I can make this portion go back into this little white portion because it's the eye of the perceiver, or in the case of the camera, the eye of the camera that looks at a part, and when it looks at it, it does what it does for the observer. If you didn't look at it, I guess you wouldn't see it at all. That's obvious. But, oops. This is something that I want to know if others can do it. I'm not sure. I do know one person who does it quite well, a friend of mine who lives in Arizona, and I went to visit him, and together we took a lot of pictures similar to these. So he was able to use his camera, and it's just a digital camera that you use, but you have to have one that has a focus that will zoom in on things. And then it's best to have a LED light instead of an ordinary light, because a LED light will spray out the light from its source. In a dark room, it'll just spray it out so you can see the little beams of light coming out of the LED light. And then you take your camera, take a little glass thing like this, find a shiny spot on it, and zoom in. And that is where you see this. You see, all this time we haven't been looking at all that shines. And all that shines is a concentration of light, when you think about it. And light is information, and light is life. It may be more real, a kind of life, than the life of the material that we call our world. And I hope I hear from some of the scientists at CERN, and that they would be willing to look into this, because I think it deserves their attention. And to get over the hesitation of saying spirit, because everything is not physical. And all that is physical came from the invisible. And the invisible is more real. Like Walter Russell says, the idea is what is real. And he talks about the sun a lot in his book. You'd like to hear what he has to say about that. The sun is ideal. Everything's in the sun. The cool mountain spring, the flowers, you and me, mountains, they're all in the sun because they are ideal. But ideal can never be manifest in a physical form. It can be simulated. But the simulation is the illusion. We are the illusion, living within an illusion. I'm drinking some water here. I'm tickling in my throat. So I will end this for now. This is the Dove Lady over and out. Gotta drink some more water. Gotta drink some more.